If you are watching this channel for the first time, please we advise you click on the share button, click on the red subscribe button, and on the notification button, so that when we have a new episode coming out, directly it will be shared to you. You will have the link and be notified of this edition because they keep on coming and it will interest you, it will move you to another level. Welcome to today's episode, viewers and listeners on the Daily Positive Living Principle channel with Dr. Daniel Otto. You will agree with me that the topics and discussions are getting more interesting. We've been discussing on the love languages that maintain connection and connectivity in marriage and relationship. In today's episode is going to be a continuation. Basically, we might be able to round up on this session on the love languages. Previously, in the 2 episodes, this is going to be part 3 now. In the 2 previous episodes, we've talked about the importance of love languages and then what the love languages are. And we have mentioned about 6 love languages already. What are they? Let me go through them briefly and give you the section, the ones in this episode. We have talked about one of the love language as the language of affirmation, the language of adoration, the language of encouragement, the language of recognition and assurance. That is one language. Number 2 language that we talked about are the language of season gift, rewards, and wages. Number 3 love language that we talked about are the language of quality time and attention, why a woman needs to be given quality time and attention. Number 4 love languages that we talked about are the language of service and care, why we need to provide service and care for each other, love and care. Number 5 love language that we talked about is the language of appreciation, which was very key. Man needs to be appreciated, men need to be appreciated. Number 6, what we talked about lastly was the language of forgiveness. I am sorry. Today's episode we are starting on 2, which I'm going to give you to round up on the 8 love languages. This one, number 7, is the language of the physical touch. Oh my God. Touch me, I touch you. God, no go verse. This is very interesting. This is what spices up a marriage. The language of physical touch is the language of kissing, is the language of cuddling, is the language of intertwining, lining and cuddling each other like a single blanket. This is very important. Is the language of sex. This is what we're talking about. The language of touch. Touch brings healing. It brings warmth. Even Jesus, when he was in the world, people follow him and be touching him all the time. This is contact now. There is a place for contact where Bible history has said that at any point Jesus was moving, about 10 to 15,000 people will be moving and be crowded around him all the time. And that was how the woman with the issue of blood now touched him and he now got his healing. What are we talking about? Touching is God. He has a godical medicinal ability, and this is why it's very important. A marriage that is devoid of physical touch cannot survive. In this one, we need a lot of study to be able to do, and sufficient response is very important. Women are like phones. They need to be held. They need to be talked to. They need to be given some pressing, some coding, some keys that one needs to press. And if you press a wrong button, you'll be highly disconnected. And that is why we need to study. There are primary sexual areas that we need to study so that we can confidently and conveniently express this language of touch for maximum utilization. This is very important. The primary sexual organs are what we call the erogenous areas. They are sensitive areas of the body which we need to touch. These things are very key. In a man, there are sensitive areas, called erogenous areas. In fact, some of them can be the back of the ear, the nipples, and the earlobe, and the neck, and the chest and the back, the scrotum. Some of them are some of the erogenous areas in a man. And then when you begin to touch the tip of the penis, these are areas that are erogenous areas. In the women, the most sensitive, there are sensitive areas called also the erogenous ones, which is from the mouth, the ear, the nipples, the breast, the vagina area, the buttocks, the back of their legs, and all that. And those are areas. These are areas we need to know, because in this area you need to study. If not, you just be working hard. As a man, you need to study the body of your wife or your spouse. If not, you just be working hard. There are areas you need to touch. We call it pianotic touch. This is actually very, very important, and we need to know this, because one of the major problems in marriage that cause marriage failure, or people are divorcing so hard, is because of what? Lack of sex. People excite themselves with manhood, but women are not satisfied when it comes to the area of sex. And so we need to study this very seriously, because it's a major key, major failure in marriage. So sex, we need to talk about it anywhere. Talk about it in the church among married couples. We need to talk about it because there is a serious breakdown. And this area, we don't need to be a novice. We need to be an expert, a professional, so that things can happen in the house. Some people go outside of their marriage causing infidelity because they do not enjoy sex. They are not satisfied with the woman or the man that they have. And so there's so much of infidelity. But on this channel, you will receive sensitive and relevant, updated informations on this area of love languages. So this is very, very key. Let me say that the women are not just the weaker sex. The women, the Bible says, treat them like, not that they are weaker sex, because women have more emotional strength than even the human beings. As a man, if you take a baby inside your womb for 9 months, even 3 months, no man can even survive it. But the women, they carry a child in their belly for 9 months, and they go about doing other work. Some of them are working class ladies. They do their work, come back home, do cook and all that. And in the night, they come to quanterize. They quanta for you. They lie down for you for the visitation of the local government headquarters. So women actually are not the weaker sex, but they love a lot of emotion. They are emotionally so strong, and so they need to be held like phones. So what are we talking about? This area is very, very key. Let me say that from my experience so far, almost about 80 to 90% of women do not actually have orgasm during their period of marriages. Some have been married for 10 years, 15 years, but they have not entered, they have not achieved orgasm for once. I got this when I was giving some health education with some women association, and a lot of them, when you begin to mention orgasm, my brothers and sisters, they are lost. They are disconnected. They don't know what it means. All they do is working hard. Bra, bra, bra. 1 or 2 minutes, the man comes on top and discharge and begin to go. And nothing happens. When the woman does not achieve orgasm, she is really tensed up with so much of pimples on her face, and he will not enjoy that marriage. Orgasm is the climax of sexual stimulation, which is characterized by intense pleasurable feelings, and that moves on with the whole of the body, which is very, very key. And that is why it gives healing to the body. In a man, it is characterized by ejaculation, and so men can easily discharge. But a woman, it is characterized by rhythmic movement, rhythmic contraction in the pelvis, the vagina, and the pelvic floor muscles. It will get to a point that it can go on to the whole body, and once there is that kind of rhythmic contraction, the woman will now begin to go into orgasm. It's very, very serious. In some women, many women have different experiences. Some of them, it will be like they are convulsing, a convulsion. Some of them like epileptic jerk. This is very, very important. Some of them, as they are mourning and they can even jump out of the bed. They can behave abnormally anyhow. That is the height of sexual stimulation. And if a woman does not know this, it means he has not started. He does not know what God put there at all. It's God that put this in. So he must be studied. There's some adventures. That is why we need to go to this school. As a man, there are areas you need to touch. Let me tell you, in the real sense, as a woman gets sexually stimulated like an iron. Women are like pressing iron. They get stimulated gently, like an iron gets hot, it gets warm, hot, and then get to the hottest region. That's how women proceed. They proceed from gently, from the lowest to the highest, and then they become hot at a point. So this comes out of giving them some time. Why men, they are like gone, they can load immediately and shoot at a time. But women needs to be given time so you can be on the same page. So you can start with some touches, firm and gentle touch like a brush. There are areas you need to touch, from the kissing, from the ear. Some you touch their ear finely. Your hand should not be like stone, it will be like brush, fine gentle touch from there to the nipples, and then you come down to the area of the buttocks and all that. And the chief of the erogenic area, let me tell you, is the clitoris. That is the equivalent of the penis in the man. That is very, very key. It is like the same card in the phone. I'm telling you, for this to be achieved, orgasm to be achieved easily, you must know this structure, this erogenic chief, which we call the clitoris, is a chief there. That is the height of where one needs to touch. It's located above the vagina. We call it the clitoral hood. It's a tip there above the urethra where you pee from. So it's located up there. As a man, if you don't know the place, you can ask your wife to teach you how to do it. And this is very, very key. And there are things that you can do. You give it some pianotic fine touch. And there are other things that you can do. If your hand is too rough, it's just like a stone, you can use your tongue to browse over the area. Before you know it, the woman will start giving you response. This is very, very, very key. And before you know it, if a woman enjoys orgasm, he will say thank you to your work, because you will feel a kind of relaxation. Her body will be youngerized, and you see her coming out, because when the sperm, which is actually a protein, begins to unite with all this erogenic orgasmic movement, the body will be undergoing some level of healing. That is why we call it sex exercise. Until this thing is done, I'm telling you, a woman will not have 100% experience. And so we need to go to school of monology and manology to understand all this, so we can give maximum expression. Apart from this, adventures into sexual positions are very, very key. Not only missionary position, chain style to doggy style, to woman on top and all that. Try to maneuver. This is what we call maneuvering technique, so that we can both enjoy. It's an adventure. It's God that created it. So we will have to maximally utilize this, so we can have a good marriage. This is what we are talking about. And so this language of the physical touch is very, very key, so that we can maximize it. The last love language I like to talk about is the language of the steps principle. Steps principle. What is the steps principle? It is S, number 1, T, number 2, E, number 3, P, number 4, P again, number 5, and S again, number 6. Every journey of a million miles starts with a step. And the journey of marriage must be done in the stepwise movement. And that is why we call it the steps principle. This is very, 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 very key. Very, very, very key. The number 1 S is when we sit together. The language of sitting together. Each time husbands and wives, spouses, they need to sit together to establish that want and bonding. That is very, very key. What is the T language? The T language is the talk together language. You need to be talking together, talk to each other. Communication, very, very key. The number 3, which is the E, is the eat together. Once it is time to eat, especially dinner, when they're at home, you eat from the same plate. It's a language that enhances bonding. It enhances communication. It enhances association. So this is very, very key. What is the other language? The language of play together. Do some play. Go jogging together. Go to gym together. Ride together. Go on motorcycle together. All those kind of play are language of the part of the test principle. The other language is the pray principle. Pray together principle. You should be able to pray with your wife. Hold your hands and pray. Many marriages, husband and wife cannot hold their hands to pray together. This is abnormal. And And though marriages cannot work like that, you should be able to hold your wife's hand and you pray together for God to manifest in the home. And what is the last language of S? Is the language of staying together. A family that stays together, discuss together, pray together, eat together, talk together, and sit together is a family that is united and cannot be disrupted or disconnected by any demonic movement or by any third party or anybody that wants to influence them. So this is very, very key. And I can tell you, as you practice these love languages, I see our marriages getting healthy. I see the society getting built up. All the infidelities, adultery, fornication that happens outside marriages will be reduced drastically if we begin to practice this love language. And this is why it's done. If you don't know it, you need to learn it. And human beings learn by influences and behavior influence. And that is why on this video channel, we are here to influence you positively so you can make a positive headway. And this is why it's called the daily positive living principle that can take you to another level. So this is very, very key. Let me give you a story as I round up. One day, two professors of psychologists decided to conduct an experiment. This is a real experiment which was conducted in 1930. They decided to adopt a baby chimp. A baby chimp is just a baby infant of a chimpanzee. They brought this chimp and brought this chimp home so as to come and mingle with their infant baby called Donald, so that they can see how the baby chimp can now learn some things and learn human behavior from just staying with their baby. So they wanted the chimp to now learn behaviors from staying together. Guess what happened? At the end of 9 months, guess what happened? Instead of the chimp to acquire behavior from their boy infant called Donald, the Donald, who is their son, their infant, now started behaving like a baby chimp, like a chimpanzee. Oh my God, after 9 months, they decided to stop the experiment abruptly. Why? Because men learn by behavior. And that is why we are moving from the section of information, education, communication, which is IEC materials, to BCC, behavioral change communication. This is what we are talking about. We have moved to the area of behavior, health education, and communication that can change behavior. That is why we're on this channel. I like you to follow me gently because we are still doing introduction. By the time we enter into real action on this channel, it will be very, very heavy. So follow me gently, hook onto the channel, subscribe to it, and I know you will not remain the same. You will be taken to the next level. Thank you very much for listening to me on this channel, and the Lord God bless you. Thank you.